Hello everyone, it's Ozzy and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to show you how to make cluster keychains, and to anyone who's new, I run a small jewelry business called Ozzy's Jewelry over on Instagram, which just hit 7k followers. Thank you guys so much. And I've vended at over 6 markets, so that's some of my credentials. This will be my third video about making jewelry or running a small business, so if that's something that you're interested, please consider subscribing. I know in my very first beading video I went over supplies, but I'm gonna go over supplies again today, or at least the ones that I'll be using for today's keychains, which are going to be inspired by ponyo. Now, of course, this cluster keychain style can work with any theme, but I'm just gonna be theming mine after ponyo today. I've been showing some of my favorite beads in the background, but let's get started. Okay, hello, we're back to supplies, and if you're coming directly from my last keychain video, the jellyfish keychain video, I know my voice is less soft than in that one. I was really trying to go for a comfy vibe, but I decided that I'm kind of just going to talk with closer to my normal speaking voice for the rest of these videos. So anyways, this is my trusty wire cutters, which I did get off of Amazon. I'll try to link all the items in the description. This is a 3-in-1 tool that I got from Charm Kits. It's super cute. It has a wire cutters, a flat nose pliers, and a round nose pliers all in one, as well as a little indent to hold your wire while you're working. I personally find the wire cutters on here to be too weak, so that's why I have a separate one, but this could definitely work if you use thinner wire than I do. Here's the little wire cutters part, the indent for your wire, and the round nose part. Next is my normal flathead wires, and I tried so hard last time to find the link for these on Amazon and I cannot find them again, but this is the brand name, so if you can find it somewhere online, I highly suggest these. Whenever I'm closing jump rings or just in general a lot of jewelry making, I'm usually using both pliers, so I would suggest getting 2 if you're able to. Of course, this is the infamous one-step looper. I've seen them available at Michael's before for $35. I always get mine on Amazon for $30. And this is the 1.5 millimeters. I don't know why I said infamous. It's famous. Everybody knows it. Everybody loves it. She's a staple. She's a classic. Now, if you don't know how to use one of these yet, I will be using one later in the video, so you'll kind of get to see there. And I am hoping to do a super basic jewelry tutorial soon. Here are my jump rings. I buy them in bulk. Can you tell which size I use the most? Yeah, pretty standard. I like these packs because they come with a lot of different sizes, which is useful for different things. For keychains, I definitely use some of the bigger sizes. And now, of course, our lovely wire. If you are not buying spools of wire in bulk, you need to start doing that now, okay? Do not be buying those thin little eye pins online where like half of them come bent. I see you, girl. I was once you. Like, I started there, but we need to upgrade now, okay? It's 2025. We're upgrading to nice wire. Okay, on to my favorite part and arguably the best part of making jewelry. And that is the design. This is the part where you really get to be creative and enjoy jewelry making as a hobby and as an artistic outlet. However, for the purpose of this video, I'm kind of going to give you a little guide on how to create the cluster keychain look. Of course, this is supposed to be artistic and you can totally make it your own thing, but here's kind of a breakdown of how to make this type of keychain. Okay, so first, I'm going to compare this to a phone charm, right? With a phone charm, it's a very long, vertical sort of design where you follow these different beads going down. Now, if we want to get the clutter look, what's going to create that look is a lot of different beads that draw attention next to each other in very close proximity. So rather than this long, elegant ring look, and some keychains are done like this as well, where they're very long, we're going to want to shorten it a lot and create a lot of layers very short on the keychain, if that makes any sense. I will kind of touch more on this idea using my keychain as a reference throughout the video, but here's a side-by-side comparison of the general idea rather than these long hanging strings on the keychain, which is a really good design for bracelets, necklaces, dainty jewelry. Instead, we want all of these very bold beads right next to each other, very quickly layering right after where the clasp is. This will create more of a chunky, maximalist trinket core look to the keychains. Okay, back to designing. As you can see, I'm kind of pulling beads out of this bowl off to the side that I showed earlier, earlier. If I am batching keychains or I have like a general idea of the color scheme and the aesthetic I want to go with, but I don't want to go through and pick all of my beads out of their boxes one by one, I oftentimes will kind of just group make a bead soup of kind of the vibe that I'm going for and then pick out of that. I won't necessarily always use all of the beads, but this way it's just easy to like pull and place them as I go rather than picking every single one out of my boxes all thrown around my desk. As you can see, I'm almost done laying out the design, and as for the board that I'm using, I got it from Michael's. Here's a little screenshot of what it looks like. Of course, it's good for necklaces and bracelets, but I also like to use the grooves to kind of lay out the different layers of the keychain as I go. For example, on the far left of either design, there's a shell, a circular bead, a swirl, and then a flower, and that'll be one strand on that side. Then we have the middle, which has the actual drink, and then on the far right, we have a couple more beads and a little dewdrop. All of those will be individual layers on the on the keychain, and so I like to keep them separate when I'm designing. Ta-da! Here are the final two designs. They're kind of inspired by like the vibes and color scheme of ponyo. So here we have first this orange one with the orange sake. Of course, there's tons of little fishies and swirls and bows to make it super girly and cute. And then of course we have the blue sake. I think overall I like this color scheme a little bit more, but the orange is just so true to ponyo. I had to do both. Okay, now I'm gonna get a couple other things ready, basically the hardware of the keychains, before I go into actually putting it all together, which will be our next step. Here I am just prepping my wire. I kind of like to take a bit of it and straighten it out to make it easier to use later. I'm gonna grab a couple of hardware keychain connector options. I have these stars and I also have these hearts. So I'm gonna grab a couple of each and then I'll probably decide while I'm making them which ones to use. Okay, we have our designs completely done. Now time to start actually putting all the beads together. I'm gonna start with this middle strand that's holding the drink. The first circular bead and bow are gonna be on a wire. The drink itself is gonna be on a large jump ring. I cut out a decently long piece of wire, and this is typically how I work with my spool wire. I take pieces off and then I flatten them out and I work on that. You'll kind of see in a second. Okay, now for the magic of the one-step looper. I'm going very slow using it this time so that you can really see how it works. It creates a hoop at the end of the wire, just like that. But as you can see, oftentimes it leaves the hoops very open and doesn't fully close them, so you always have to make sure to both flatten them and then finish closing them. So here you can see a close-up of me trying to close the clasp. That's how you always have to close them to make sure they're nice and secure. And then typically I cut my wire strand so that there's enough space to close the other side of the hoop. But as you can see here, when you do this method with the wire how I do it, you want to consider the size of the bead, because this specific bow bead is really hard to hoop just because it kind of blocks the one-step looper. So I'm actually going to flip the beads and then finish looping the wire. Now that's like a super nitty-gritty detail, but I did want to share it as a tip, because if you don't do that and you just kind of brute force use the one-step looper by beads where it creates space, then the loops on the ends of your wires aren't really close and snug to the bead. Instead, they leave a lot of space, which isn't ideal. That is a really minor detail, but it's also something to keep in mind. Always use the one-step looper on the side that's easy. I also like to flatten the loops on either end. This is more important in bracelets and necklaces because it gets them to lay flat, but I also like to do them for anything. I'm doing it again here. That just gets the design to lay nice and flat. Okay, now we're just going to finish wiring all of the different strands. Like I said previously, there's going to be a couple different strands from the left to the right that we're just going to bead, and then items at the end will typically be on a jump ring, like the big charm at the end. My last quick tip for wiring everything is that it's not exactly perfect, but sometimes I like to use the width of my finger as a reference for how much wire needs to be left in order to use the one-step looper. Okay, welcome to part 4, connecting all the pieces. Now we're going to be using jump rings to connect the big drinks at the bottom of the keychains, as well as these big flowers and other big charms all together. This is the size jump ring that I'm using to connect the drink to the wire above it. I think it's like the 3rd or 4th size in the jump ring pack that I own. So first we're gonna pop on the little drink, and then we're gonna pop on the wire with the bow and the round bead, and I typically like to hold the jump ring just open on my flat head pliers. Now for extra little beads, I like to use these flat or round ended wires, and I do buy these flat or round ended wires in packs, but you could definitely start by just using the 1-step looper on the end instead. That's how I started, and then eventually I switched to the flat or ball ended wires for specifically the little extra beads, which I do like to add all over the keychain as well, just to add even more of a cluster look. So as you can see here, I have the main wire piece, then I have this little star in between, and then I have the drink. It'll make more sense when I lay it flat, but now I'm just closing the jump ring and I'm making sure that the ends are laid flat and perfectly touching so that the jump ring is secure. And here's what we have so far. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. Here is the first strand. I really hope that the tips I'm giving are like making sense and are helpful. I'm really trying to articulate like all of the little things that I've learned. I'm sure for some of you this might be a lot of information at once, and for some of you you might be like, yeah, I literally already knew all of this, but I'm trying to do an overview of like every step of the process for building a keychain like this. But I will definitely in the future make a video that's a lot more simple, of literally just like how to pick up a pliers and start doing anything with wire and beads. For this tutorial, I just wanted to give tips that weren't too obvious, but let me know if I'm skipping over stuff that's really important, and let me know in the comments if there's anything you don't understand. Okay, anyways, I just put a little dewdrop on the end of this flower, so that is another item that's like the charm at the end of a chain, so it needs a jump ring. Now this connection right here is going to be a little bit different because there isn't a ring in between. I am directly connecting the 2 loops between the 2 wires, which you can do as well. You just want to open one up, hook the other one onto it, and then close it like I just did. Here's another extra star charm that will attach to a jump ring that is on a wire with a flat end. And tell me why after this one I cut my finger with wire, which has literally never happened to me until today filming this video. I was just holding some of my wire and it slid on the skin. Ouch. Oh, that's not good. That's not good. Alright, I bandaged it up and we're good to go, but crazy that that happened on video because I've been making jewelry for over a year and that has never happened until now. As you can see, even though I planned out the design at the beginning, I have changed it so much and obviously rearranged and kind of just like gone with the flow and changed things as I went. So definitely feel free to do this as you go. I don't know why I start shaking my finger here because I do end up using this pink star, so I do not know what I was saying here. Okay, now we're taking the big final jump ring that's gonna hold everything and connect everything to the clasp. So I'm taking the biggest size that comes in my pack, and then I'm gonna loop everything through it. Freeze! Okay, here is the final design next to the little sketch that I drew up, and you can see what I mean about these strands aren't super long and they do have a lot of little extra beads popping out and big chunky charms to achieve that cluster look. Now you can add even more beads and make it even more busy than what I did, but this is just how I did the ponyo ones today. This is just an example of taking a really simple silver chain and just putting 1 bead on it, and there is another strand for my keychain. Now for the most exciting part, guys! Watch the magic happen as I put everything on the big main jump ring. gosh, it looks so cute. Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed. I'm so happy with how they came out. I did end up deciding to add one little blue charm onto the keychain last minute, which I think added a little bit of extra flair. Ta-da! Now we have two beautiful cluster keychains. I absolutely love how these came out. I love the big pearly bows on the drinks themselves. I love the little dewdrop details. Everything's just exactly how I pictured it, like the pink, the blue, the orange, the ponyo theme really coming through. And look at them jangle! There's so many cute little details and layers to this. I'm just so proud of them. And unfortunately, these ponyo keychains did sell in a market after I filmed this video, so they're not currently available. But if you are interested in any of my pieces, my jewelry shop is aussiesjewelry.bigcartel.com, and you can definitely keep in touch through my jewelry Instagram at aussiesjewelry over on Instagram. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment down below if you found this helpful, or if you have any other jewelry tips that I didn't include, and subscribe for more cozy videos and small business content. See you in the next one.